Welcome to Empire of Wealth, where we uncover hidden forces that shaped history's greatest empires, wars, and economies. Today, we're diving into a question rarely asked but always whispered about: did secret fortunes decide the fate of empires? From mountains of plundered gold to shadowy banking deals, hidden wealth didn't just fund wars, it changed the course of history. In this episode, we'll explore three gripping stories: the Spanish Empire's silver fleets that bankrolled European conquests, the Rothschild family's mysterious role in the Napoleonic Wars, and the East India Company's opium-fueled war chest that powered British colonialism. Buckle up, because these tales of wealth, secrecy, and power will make you rethink everything you know about history's greatest conflicts. Let's start with the Spanish Empire in the 16th and 17th centuries, a time when Spain was the world's undisputed superpower. Their secret weapon, not just their armadas or conquistadors, but an obscene amount of silver, literally mountains of it, ripped from the New World. The Spanish crown's wealth came primarily from the silver mines of Potosí, in modern-day Bolivia, and Zacatecas, in Mexico. Potosí, known as the mountain that eats men, was a brutal operation. Enslaved indigenous workers and African slaves toiled in horrific conditions to extract silver, which was then minted into coins called pieces of 8. By the 1570s, Potosí alone was producing millions of ounces of silver annually, enough to make Spain the richest empire on earth. But here's the kicker: this wealth wasn't just about shiny coins. It was a carefully orchestrated economic machine that funded Spain's endless wars. The Spanish used their silver to dominate Europe through what's known as the Habsburg dynasty's war machine. King Philip II, for instance, spent lavishly on conflicts like the 80 Years' War against the Dutch and the disastrous Spanish Armada campaign against England in 1588. These wars weren't cheap. A single galleon could cost the equivalent of millions of dollars today, and maintaining armies across Europe drained the treasury. So how did Spain keep the money flowing? They created a system of treasure fleets, massive convoys of ships that carried silver from the Americas to Seville. These fleets were the lifeblood of the empire, but they were also a closely guarded secret. The routes, schedules, and cargo were known only to a select few, because pirates, rival empires, and even disloyal Spanish nobles were always ready to pounce. Here's where the hidden part comes in. Spain didn't just ship silver, they manipulated its flow to control European economies. By flooding markets with silver, they caused inflation, which destabilized rivals like France and the Ottoman Empire. This was economic warfare disguised as trade. But there was a darker secret: not all the silver made it to the crown. Corrupt officials, privateers, and even conquistadors siphoned off fortunes. Some historians estimate that up to 20% of the silver was smuggled or lost to black markets. This hidden wealth funded private armies, bribed foreign courts, and even sparked rebellions within Spain's own colonies. For example, in the 17th century, rogue Spanish governors in the Americas hoarded silver to build their own power bases, undermining the crown's authority. The Spanish silver system wasn't flawless. By the mid-1600s, over-reliance on silver led to economic stagnation. The influx of precious metals caused hyperinflation, and Spain's enemies, like the Dutch and English, started capturing treasure ships. The sinking of the Nuestra Señora de Atocha in 1622, loaded with millions in silver and gold, was a symbolic blow. Yet, for nearly 2 centuries, Spain's secret silver wealth shaped wars, from the conquest of the Aztecs to the 30 Years' War in Europe. It's a stark reminder that empires aren't just built on swords and ships, they're built on cold, hard cash, often hidden from view. Now, let's fast forward to the early 19th century and a family whose name is synonymous with wealth and secrecy: the Rothschilds. If you've ever heard whispers of banking conspiracies, the Rothschilds are usually at the center. But beyond the myths, their role in the Napoleonic Wars is a masterclass in how hidden fortunes can sway history. The Napoleonic Wars, spanning 1803 to 1815, were a global conflict pitting Napoleon's France against coalitions led by Britain, Austria, and Russia. These wars cost billions in today's money, and someone had to finance them. Enter the Rothschilds, a Jewish banking family who rose from the Frankfurt ghetto to become Europe's financial powerhouse. The Rothschilds' secret wasn't just their wealth, it was their network. With 5 brothers, Mayer Amschel's sons, stationed in Frankfurt, London, Paris, Vienna, and Naples, they created a private intelligence and financial system unmatched by any government. They lent money to kings, dukes, and emperors, often at exorbitant interest rates, to fund armies and navies. But here's the hidden part. They didn't just lend money, they manipulated markets and information to their advantage. One famous story, partly legend, partly fact, centers on Nathan Rothschild in London during the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. According to the tale, Nathan used his private couriers and carrier pigeons to get news of Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo before anyone else in London. While the British government and markets were still in the dark, Nathan allegedly spread rumors that Napoleon had won, causing a stock market crash. He then bought up stocks at rock-bottom prices, knowing the truth: Britain's victory would send markets soaring. When the official news arrived, Nathan's profits were astronomical. Historians debate the details, some say the story's exaggerated, but records confirm the Rothschilds' London branch made millions during the war, partly by exploiting their superior information network. But the Rothschilds' real power lay in their secrecy. They used coded letters, private messengers, and even disguised agents to move money and information across war-torn Europe. For example, they smuggled gold to Wellington's army in Spain, bypassing French blockades, to fund the Peninsular War. This wasn't just banking, it was logistical wizardry. They also played both sides, lending to France and its enemies simultaneously, ensuring they'd profit no matter who won. This neutrality made him indispensable but also fueled suspicions of disloyalty. Some even accused him of orchestrating wars for profit, a charge that's persisted in conspiracy circles. The Rothschilds' hidden wealth didn't just fund wars, it reshaped Europe's economy. Their loans helped Britain emerge as the dominant power post-Napoleon, while their investments in railways, mining, and trade laid the groundwork for the Industrial Revolution. But their secrecy came at a cost. Their Jewish heritage made them targets of anti-Semitic tropes, and their influence sparked fears of a shadowy financial cabal. Whether you see them as geniuses or opportunists, the Rothschilds proved that hidden wealth, wielded with precision, could tip the scales of war and history. Our final story takes us to the 19th century and the British Empire's secret weapon, the East India Company. This wasn't just a company, it was a corporate empire that controlled half of global trade and funded Britain's colonial wars. The East India Company's wealth came from a shadowy mix of trade monopolies, exploitation, and one particularly dirty secret: opium. By the 1800s, the company had a stranglehold on India, extracting wealth through taxes, land grabs, and trade in spices, textiles, and tea. But opium was the real cash cow, and it fueled wars that reshaped Asia. The company grew opium in India, particularly in Bengal, and smuggled it into China, where it was illegal but wildly popular. By the 1830s, millions of Chinese were addicted, and the trade generated obscene profits, hundreds of millions in today's dollars. This wasn't just business, it was economic warfare. The Chinese government, desperate to stop the opium flood, seized and destroyed British opium stocks in 1839, sparking the First Opium War. The East India Company, backed by British naval power, crushed China, forcing them to cede Hong Kong and open ports to trade. The hidden fortune here wasn't just the opium money. It was the company's ability to operate as a shadow government, with its own armies, ships, and spies. The company's wealth funded other wars, too. In India, it used its profits to conquer princely states, like Mysore and the Marathas, consolidating British control. Its private army, larger than Britain's own, was paid for with opium and tax revenue, not parliamentary funds. This gave the company, and by extension, Britain, deniability. If things went wrong, the Crown could blame the company, not the government. But the secrecy went deeper. The company's ledgers were notoriously opaque, hiding profits in offshore accounts and shell companies. Some historians argue that company officials skimmed millions, building personal fortunes while funding wars under the table. The opium trade's profits also had a global ripple effect. They strengthened Britain's economy, funded industrial expansion, and gave Britain the cash to dominate global trade. But the human cost was staggering. In China, opium addiction destroyed communities, while in India, forced cultivation starved farmers. By the 1850s, the East India Company's overreach led to the Indian Rebellion of 1857, which forced Britain to dissolve the company and take direct control of India. Yet, for over a century, the company's hidden wealth had bankrolled Britain's empire, proving that a corporation could wage war as effectively as any king. So, what ties these stories together? Each reveals how hidden wealth, whether silver, banking profits, or opium money, didn't just fund wars but shaped their outcomes. Spain's silver fleets made it a superpower but also sowed the seeds of its decline. The Rothschilds' financial wizardry helped defeat Napoleon but sparked enduring myths of conspiracy. The East India Company's opium trade built an empire while devastating millions. These fortunes were hidden not just from enemies but often from the public, buried in secret deals, coded letters, or offshore accounts. Today, we see echoes of these tactics. Modern wars are still funded by shadowy wealth. Think offshore tax havens, crypto transactions, or corporate war profiteering. The lesson: power isn't just about armies or ideology, it's about who controls the money and how well they hide it. History's greatest empires didn't just fight wars, they mastered the art of secret wealth. That's it for this episode of Empire of Wealth. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden fortunes behind history's wars, give us a like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments, which empire's secret wealth should we explore next? Maybe the Venetian trade monopolies, or the Vatican's mysterious finances? Drop your thoughts below, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep questioning history.